Welcome to our pod, and by that I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now we are investigating the Dublin Murder Squad. And we are diving into the second half of In the Woods. A book that begs the question, how much was Hannah like, ooh, we're foreshadowing a lot in the last episode?
There was so much foreshadowing and so many like lines that are just like dropped. You're like, oh, should have remembered that.
Or like moments where you're like, and the thing about the prestige is you're never expecting the end. And I'm like, yep.
Mhm.
And it's meant to be ambiguous that Christopher Nolan like there was
It's
a
not
lot
real
last
magic
week.
unless it comes back.
Exactly. And I was just like, oh, Laura and I really, really know how to do that. And I had to keep my mouth shut the entire time so I didn't ruin it for you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
will say that was very on par though for the book to be talking about some gray movies.
Some gray movies. I know. But Laura, before we dive into it, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
So I'm still reading One Punch Man by one. They finally got out of the arc of the like fighting ring that Saitama was in to just learn about martial arts for some reason. He had to be in a martial arts fighting ring.
Obviously.
I was so bored and not invested in that. And it lasted way too many volumes. Finally, now we're actually getting some plot. And
Oh,
I'm disappointed because I'm like, okay, I only have through volume 18 because I acquired all these. I acquired 18 volumes at a garage sale for like ridiculously cheap uh, amounts of money. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll cruise through this manga. And I have. However, now it's just starting to pick up after 18, 17 volumes. And I'm like, okay, so by the time that I'm reinvested, I don't have any more. But it is what it is. I don't know that. I think that I really just want more of Saitama, like OG, who is just like, I'm sad because my life doesn't have any meaning because I was just doing this as a hobby and now I'm way too good at it. And they have kind of delved a little from that, and it's more like the Hero Association. Now there's a Monster Association, and all these different, like, this one's threat level demon and this one's threat level this. And I'm just, I don't know, not as invested as I have been in other mangas. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this, where it's like you waited too long to try and get the plot going again to get me invested in One Punch Man,
mm,
and I might I might keep reading if I can acquire more of them for cheap, but jury's
might
out
be done.
at this
Yeah.
moment. So might be done with that. I also listened to The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros,
Oh, that's been on my
which
TBR for like forever.
it's a really short read, and the author narrates it herself. She does a really good job. It's a book that was selected for my band book club that I attend, but I wasn't able to go to the last one because I was not feeling well. So I missed out on the discussion, but I do think that it's a really good book, and I understand why it's considered a banned, or why it's banned quite a bit. But I do think that it's a really interesting glimpse into what it's like to be in a Latinx community and to have to kind of search for this sense of self and this sense of place. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend the audiobook to people if they wanted to pick it up. But also, I mean, it's really short, so probably wouldn't take long if you wanted to read the print book either. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And it's kind of just told in like little stories about it's like small stories that all kind of become one big story overall that you kind of piece together. It reminded me a little bit of like A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, but not
Okay.
exactly. So, but yeah, it very sad too at the same time, but also like you get this love of place and this love for people, and also it's a coming of age story, and also bad things happen. Yeah, so it's a really good book. I would recommend it. And then for other things I've been enjoying, Hannah, have you watched Frankenstein yet on
I have
Netflix?
not. Is it good?
I really liked it.
Oh,
I really liked
good.
it a lot. And I'm kind of a big fan of Frankenstein the novel by Mary Shelley, so I went into this not knowing what to expect, but Guillermo del Toro knocked it out of the park, I think, because this probably is the best adaptation that I have seen. I know that there's like people that are like, oh, this isn't totally accurate. It's an adaptation, so they're not going to be
You and I
incredibly accurate with it.
you and I have gotten away from the like it has to be a one for one adaptation in our older life. I think we're just like, you know what? Adaptations are that. They're adaptations. They are not meant to be a page for
Yeah,
page review anymore. Like there's too many out there.
correct. Yeah, I think especially with some of these older things, like I thought like Frankenstein, the 2025 Guillermo del Toro version is a really faithful adaptation compared to others in the way that it's set up in the parts where we have Victor's story, where we have the creature's story, and then the ending, how it is put together. I also think that, we're actually getting a more articulate creature, which I appreciate because other adaptations do not show that. It's very much just a moaning, groaning creature that kind of just like stumbles around slowly and
Hmm.
everything and is kind of a joke, basically. But I thought that this was a really good adaptation. I thought it was beautiful. The costumes were awesome. The sets were awesome. Uh, Jacob Elordi, I think that's how you say his name, is Elordi.
Yeah, I think so.
He did a really great job in his
Oh,
role. I
good.
was very impressed by that. I also liked that they included like, and these are not spoilers because this is a novel from like the 1800s, so you should have read
Right.
it by now. But anyways, I really appreciated they included the blind man in this because that's where the creature learns to speak and read and everything and become more eloquent. So I
Hmm.
really liked that depiction in the movie as well and how he develops that relationship and everything. That wasn't exactly accurate to the books, I don't think, because I want to say in the books that there was some kind of incident with like a young girl and then the creature is pursued or something like that and chased away from the blind man's family, if I'm remembering right. The other thing that I think people were having like issues with was the whole Mia Goth of it all, where
Oh, yeah.
she basically becomes like a love interest for the creature, kind of.
I mean, it's Mia Goth. What were you
She
expecting?
becomes interested in the creature. Like she ends up like
Yeah.
having the hots for the creature, and the creature obviously wants a companion. And in the book, the character of Elizabeth, which is who Goth plays, is actually I want to say that it was Frankenstein's fiance, but they have in the movie Elizabeth play Frankenstein's younger brother's fiance.
Okay. To
So
make
they
it
do a little
less weird.
they do a little mismatching there. Also, Frankenstein in the book, I want to say, is the older brother of Elizabeth.
Oh, okay.
I think it's an adoption situation, but
Got
still
it.
weird.
Yeah.
And in the movie, they make it a deal where it's like they introduce a new character who's like interested in Victor's science and all this. So he just by chance has a niece that he can offer up as a
Oh my gosh.
romantic
What?
offering to them. But yeah, so I think those were probably like the major changes. But I really liked it overall. It was very beautiful to watch. I really thought that it was probably the most faithful adaptation that I have seen. Not that I've seen a ton, but maybe like three,
I'm,
three other
aren't you
movies.
a pretty big fan of Frankenstein? I feel like you
Yeah,
are. Yeah.
I do I do like it.
You love
So
Frankenstein. So I'm like, well, Lord, I feel
the
like you're
book
a good,
itself I do a
yes.
lot.
But I feel like that's a good authority of someone who genuinely enjoys the book being like, I liked this movie. So,
Yeah, yeah, I think other people that liked who like Frankenstein would like this movie if they are like stands for the novel like I am. I think that maybe the only issue that I took with it is that the ending is a little bit more hopeful than the
mm,
book, where I mean, in the novel, Frankenstein dies on the ship, and then you see the creature just say, "Well, I'm gonna go burn myself on the pyre," and because he's just reached a point of complete hopelessness to know that he's going to be alone in this world forever.
yeah.
But in the movie, it ends on a slightly more positive note, where we have the creature reconciling with Victor and saying father and son. And I was kind of like, no.
Oh, sure, I guess. Like,
I I guess this has been a really good movie so far, but I guess I'll excuse it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think other people who like Frankenstein and maybe are just like into pretty movies will like it because it was really good. I will say there's like some gore and stuff like that, obviously, and some like a little bit ickier things that if you can't handle blood and guts, not for you.
Hmm, fair.
But yeah, that's what I've been enjoying. I know, Hannah, that you've been working out more and stuff, and so I've been trying to be a little more active, taking a leaf out of your book, and I have been walking my dog in uh, our local village, and that's been just kind of nice to go for a mile walk with him every
That's
day.
really nice.
So, and
Yeah, I've
it's
been.
easy to do for me right now, which is kind of what I need. I've not been feeling the greatest, so just doing a mile walk is enough.
Well, I think all movement is good movement. And I also point out that you run a hobby farm. So you are doing more than a lot of people in their normal day-to-day life.
If I didn't have animals, I would never get up, probably.
I mean, but you do get up. So I am lifting weights again. My sister inspired me. She goes to like, and again, this is like all movement is good movement. She and I both have ADHD because genetics. But she loves the E gym at the Y. She pays for like a membership for that because she likes that it tells her what to do and it tells her where to go and it
Mm,
like all she has to do is like punch in a code and it like sets it up for her so she doesn't have to think about all
that's
that
really
stuff.
nice.
It is really nice. And like I even looked for it in my area and it's like there's like one 30 minutes away. And I just know myself where I'm like, I'm not gonna drive 30
Hmm.
minutes to go to the gym when there's one down
Right.
the street from me. Um, but yeah, I used to work out a lot. I used to lift a lot of weights, and so now I'm kind of getting back into it, and it's been
Hmm.
nice. I've been like changing at
You were
work.
also like a hardcore runner too.
I was a hardcore runner for many, many years. I can tell in my knees that I think those days are behind me because now
Hey,
it's
I
like
never had those days, so knees
I
aside.
like I have to do walking lunges and I can hear like you know how people talk about like their crackly knees. I'm like, ooh, it's I have six
Mhm.
walking lunges in me and that's about it. So yeah, but I used to love running. It was one of my favorite things. My little nephew is a runner and I'm really excited for him because I was like, oh, just like Bamba and Hannah. Um, but yeah, so I'm back at the gym. So I am enjoying that. It's been nice to like listen to some audiobooks while I'm working out. Usually with lifting weights, I like to do podcasts or audiobooks where if I'm running, it was always like music
Sure.
and things like that. But so I am enjoying that.
I
So
think you need
highly
that
recommend.
beat when you're running.
Yes, I would get so like I would think too much about the fact that I was running and not pay attention to what I was listening to. So
Hmm.
but yeah, I'm enjoying that. And for audiobooks that I'm listening to while at the gym, I again, Shauna McGuire, I listened to Come Tumbling Down, which is the fifth book in this novel series. It brings back, I have a theory that Shauna loves two specific characters, some twins, because they come back constantly. Because this has Jack and Jill, two twins who went through a door together. They like we've learned a lot about them, so this is our third installment with them. And in this book, like some small spoilers if you want to read the series and don't want any spoilies. Um, Jack and Jill are identical, but they were both like kind of raised as like one was a boy and one was a girl kind of energy, and it kind of messed them up. And then they went into this world where they almost got to reverse those roles and like find out who they were. And in this book, Jill switches bodies with Jack, and Jack has
Hmm.
OCD, and so it very much bothers
Hmm.
her. And everyone else is kind of like, "What's the big deal?" Like, there are some big deals, but like, what's the big deal for you? And Jack is like, "I can't stand this. I cannot be in this body. It is not right, and I need to get out." And so it's an entire book about them trying to help her get back into her own body. So it's kind of more of a like continuation than a lot of her novels, which are more about like singular units of like falling into like one
Hmm.
person and seeing the world from them. But I did like going into this. I thought it was a lot of fun to like come back to them, and she
That's
does a really
interesting
good job.
representation, though.
I know it was really, and I thought she did a really effective job of showing OCD of that. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
of course that would bother someone to be like, this is not my body, this is not right, and I
I was
cannot
gonna
do
say, I
this.
think that that's really creative to show it from that way.
Right. And like so many people are sitting there being like, is it that big of a deal? And it's like, yes, it is a very, very big deal. So I really liked that. And then moving forward, I also got to listen to the sixth book, Across the Green Grass Fields, which of course was a horse novel. So I loved it as a former horse girl. This is more of a standalone of someone who goes through and gets to kind of be with centaurs, kelpies, and other magical creatures. I really liked this one
Any
because it,
Selkies or no?
I think I don't remember if there were selkies. I think no, because kelpies were there
Okay,
for like horse representation because this was a unique
fine.
horse world. But I did like the themes of this book, which was kind of about like a little bit of like fake news or questioning the people who have authority over you and what they know and how people in power can keep others like underneath them by lying to them and telling them that it's
Hmm.
for their own good. And I was really impressed by the themes of this novel. I think it might have been one of my favorites for like thematic
Sure.
process in these types of books because like a lot of these are a little bit more like rompy and like they do have themes
Hmm.
of self-acceptance and things like that, but like this one was very much a almost mystical version of her series where it's like one girl who may have been mentioned in another book, I'm not sure, but like coming to this land and finding a home of people and then see like because these are all like magical equines, she sees them as people, which is revolutionary to some of the people around her. And it's like through that kindness of seeing all of these different types of horse creatures as like human and having humanity that like makes her such a strong character. And I thought it was very beautiful for a very specific type of book. So, but yeah, so and then for enjoying something I haven't brought up yet, but after 100 and I think I'd have to check 16 hours of gameplay, I have finished Silksong.
You
So,
finished it.
yes, I finished it and then immediately had to start playing because there are certain endings that I didn't get to see because I picked a specific
Oh, so you
path.
had to
So,
restart it?
yeah, and there are certain like
Oh.
this is a game where if you had played it a certain way, you probably could have gotten them all done in one go. But I
Hmm.
picked a specific path where I was like, nope, now you're going down this much longer path, and you must finish it this way now. And so, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but what a beautiful game design! Like I was not expecting it. The way ended was so great, and now I can't wait to see like the other types of endings that are a little bit faster, and that's what I'm kind of hoping for is to like get to the
Hmm.
new ending a little bit faster to not have all of the gameplay that I already did because 113
Sure.
hours is a long time, and I do need to get back to writing my book at some point. But it was a fun time. I really enjoyed that game. It's lovely. A lot of people have talked about how hard Silksong is compared to Hollow Knight, and I do agree it's a much harder game. But I also like that it is a continuation of the first
Okay.
game. So like it is Hollow Knight Silksong, and so I do think it makes sense from a gameplay to have it be a more complicated story with a lot more twists and turns. And finding out what's really going on was really lovely. And I thought it was adorable. And you get to see a baby hornet at some point, and she's adorable. um,
Hannah,
and
spoil for me off air.
I will definitely spoil for you off air. And I also think like this is my pitch to Laura. I really think you would love just like watching people play video games. I think that you are someone
I
who
mean, I
enjoys.
do enjoy watching people play board games when I'm at my most
Yes.
depressed. So,
So I do wonder if you would enjoy it's like very similar to ASMR, I would say, where you're just watching like
interesting.
someone play a game and just have it out. And there are people who like rush the game, which I don't know if you'd enjoy as much, but I think you would just like watching someone be like, I'm playing Silksong for the first time and just like seeing them go through all the different fights and things like that will be very rad for you. So highly recommend. And I think if you watch someone play it, I think you would also like watching like lore videos and things like that. I think that that's a very
Interesting.
specific lore. Like I usually don't recommend things for you because I'm like you're gonna enjoy what you're
Mhm.
gonna enjoy, but for you, I'm like I think she would actually really vibe with that. So, listeners of the podcast, you heard it here first. I'm recommending Laura do something, and she'll never do it. So,
That's how our recommendations go.
how would we?
This is me every week being like, Hannah, have you read The City in Glass?
AKA last week. But yeah, it's just been so fun to play that. I love that game so much. Hollow Knight was such a cute little game. Silksong is beautiful. That's also, I think you would like very much vibe with seeing all the little creatures and bugs you run
Mhm.
into. Like you would be like, oh my gosh. And this is as someone whose husband gave me a Sherma stuffy, and
Oh,
getting the Sherma stuffy made me realize that that's a man, and I thought he was a woman the
oh,
entire time. So, he's adorable. He just like goes around and sings songs to bugs to make them not angry anymore. And at
oh.
one point, like you're in one of the most dangerous locations, and he's just like taking a little nap, and he's like, well, I'm just so tired on my pilgrimage. And you're like, Sherma, it's dangerous out here. But he's just a cute little bug who sings
Aw.
and wears a symbol on his head. So, he's my favorite of all the characters in the game. And
Is
I was a
there,
little bit devastated that he was a boy. So
I was gonna ask if there are other characters that you like put on that level, or if there's a reason that that one's your favorite
he sings a little song that like every time you run into him, because a huge part of Silksong is music. Like
songs.
there's so many songs, yeah, and there's like a bell eater, and like so there's a lot that goes around into that. And so like some of the lore begins because Hornet was kidnapped and taken to this land that she's never been in, and all of a sudden all these bugs are angry and they're like attacking people when they just were existing before.
Mhm.
And so um Sherma was cute because like you when you come on screen, a lot of them will be singing, and Sherma's song is very cute and charming. It's like fa da dee da do da do, and it's just like little
Oh,
garbledy and it's so cute. And him just being like, "I'm just taking a little nap on these very dangerous stairs." You're like, Sherma, this is adorable. Get to safety. And Hornet is a very no nonsense character. She's just like, "Little bug, you should not be out here." Like,
aw.
and so I really like that. And then there's another, there's usually like a person who sells you maps throughout each of the games so that you don't know what area you're in sometimes because you don't have a map
Mhm.
to it. And in
Very
the,
video game.
yeah, very video game. And this one, her name is Chakra. And so, but we in my household call her Shakira. So every time you see
Okay.
Shakira on screen, I start singing Hips Don't Lie.
Okay.
So that's fun. And then there's just certain ones, like there's certain fights that we both like I play this with my sister-in-law. So there's certain fights
Hmm.
that like I loved and she hated. Like on this next gameplay, I will admit I'm not the most serious of gamers. There's one person who I hate fighting, and I let her beat them for me because I was sick of fighting them and I did not enjoy it. So, um, she would never. She's like a very specific gameplay person where unless like it's something very simple, she wants to do it herself. But for me, I was
Hmm.
like, I don't want to play this person anymore. I hate them. Like,
You
um,
just get tired of it.
yeah, I get tired of it. And that's like there were some bug games at the end, like with these like little things called fleas, because you have to find them all over
Hmm.
the map. And I was really bad at flea juggling. So the first time you have to beat the flea juggling game, and spoilers, I guess, for Silksong. So I was really, really bad at it, and everyone online hates it. But I did have her beat it for me the first time, but I beat it the second time, which was a harder score to beat. So um,
Nice.
I made up for it. But I really like the game. It's very beautifully designed. Highly recommend. And people come talk to me about it because it's so cool. And I feel like I've always been someone.
Discord, perfect place.
Discord. I know that like GJ way back when was like, You actually beat that? That's a really hard game. I think you might be officially a gamer." So I might actually officially be a gamer now. So um
You've played
yeah,
a
it was
handful
fun.
of games, Hannah. I think you are a gamer.
Yeah, I've played both Zeldas and both Hollow Knights all the way through,
Hmm.
and I have too many hours on Stardew Valley because
Say, you
Laura
love Stardew Valley.
has a real farm and I have multiple fake ones. So, uh,
You're probably more successful with the fake ones.
I mean, they're easier to handle. If you just go away for months, they don't notice. You just are like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing on this game? Um,
Sounds less stressful.
it is much less stressful, but yeah, and the if you have grass outside, the animals feed themselves even. So what is the point?
Perfect.
Yes. But shall we dive into the second half of this
Yes.
novel where
Let's do
everything
it.
goes to shit? So we left off, boy, looking at my notes, I'm like,
Oh,
ooh, we left off at
in
a
a
real
terrible spot.
bummer. So sorry, everyone, for not reading chapter 13 for you all. So
Mm,
Ryan is about to head inside to talk to Jonathan, the father, about the
Devlin.
rape that he remembers seeing him do when he was younger.
Hmm.
He knows the friends who did it, like Shane is in jail, but they want to talk
Hmm.
about Colic, I think his name is. I can't remember specifically,
I
but they want
think
to talk,
so.
yeah, and Sandra. So Jonathan talks about the fact that the three boys were incredibly close friends of his and they grew up together. He talks about how
They shared
they
everything.
shared everything, but like he and Kalik had this very specific relationship where they were passing girlfriends back and forth together who were both
Mm-hmm.
kind of chill about it. Like it was just more high schooly and you're
Mm-hmm.
playing with sexual relationships and things like that. However, Shane found out about it and became fixated on the fact that these two people got to do something he didn't get to do.
Right.
And he kind of convinces them to do that. It's Cathal, sorry. At this point, um, like Ryan doesn't think that Sandra is the one who committed murder just based on everything he's
Mm-hmm.
seeing, but he has to hear all of this to the end. So they it's a really awful scene because like you kind
Yeah.
of have Jonathan knowing that it was wrong, but like not really knowing how
It's
to
one of those things,
communicate it.
kind
Yeah.
of like he knew it was wrong even at the time, but he's even kind of like convinced himself that it was okay because of them being a certain age and
Well,
like
and like
them kind of
Sandra's
sharing
reaction to
and
it, like,
yeah, and her reaction to it all and kind of a almost like a boys will be boys type
mm-hmm.
situation. And even when he's kind of pushed on it by Ryan, he reacts pretty poorly where he's like, but I
You
would
just
never
don't
hurt any of my
understand.
daughters. You don't
Yeah.
get it. I would never hurt any of them. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, your past actions don't match up with that.
Yes. And so then, like, Ryan does kind of go down this, and you see that it does affect him in a lot
Hmm.
of ways where he goes and he seeks out Shane. And then he and Cassie go, and they kind of like Cassie really antagonizes Cathal because he is a dick
Hmm.
and he is obviously
Yeah.
throwing himself around. He got very rich. He's like very high powered,
And
wants to
obviously,
throw it
she's
around.
triggered by this type of case too, which has been
Yes.
previously mentioned. So she does have a harder time with these type
Yes.
of people.
And so they kind of go back to her house later, and Ryan talks about how he's just scared for Rosalind. And then Cassie tells him a story that he thinks is about Cathal, but later we found out is not about him.
Hmm.
Um, but she does say that she thinks Cathal might be a psychopath. She says that she met a psychopath once in college, and he's actually the reason she dropped out of her psychology program. They were close friends, and then in year four, he tried to make a pass at her, and she always said, like, he was just so great. He was easy to be around. People loved him. But when he made a pass at her, she turned him down nicely, and he said everything was fine and just went about his way. And then the next day, everyone started ostracizing her. And we find out that after he left her house, he went to someone else's house and said that they had been going out, and that when he
Hmm.
broke up with her, she said that she was going to tell everyone that he raped her.
Yep.
Or yeah. And he gets everyone to believe this lie. She's like a room full of people studying psychology, and not a
Hmm.
single one of us could pick out the one psychopath.
Right.
And one day he even came out to her and told her that even if he had raped her at this point, no one would believe her.
Yep.
And she gets scared. She drops out and she's like, I never wanted to.
Yeah, it's terrifying because nobody's going to believe her. She's in a situation where literally he's threatening her,
Mhm.
basically, and she doesn't know if he's going to harm her. He likely will try,
Yeah.
and she's now in a situation where like no one's going to believe her no matter what she says.
And so she like leaves. And Ryan has a moment where he's like, is he ever going to come back after you? And she's like, no, I think like he got what he wanted, which was my fear. And he thinks it's
Mhm.
better to have me out here scared of him. And so
I
he
will
does.
say that that is a common theme in like cop woman cop stories
Yes.
is they've put the fear in me and
Yep.
so I have to live with that every day,
Well, I think that that's also
a
something
la
that
Mariska
like,
Hargitay.
yes. And it's like the power and control that I think people are very obsessed with, especially in the early
Hmm.
2000s. This is maybe something we could talk
Yes.
about in the themes episode, but there is like a specific thing of like, rape isn't about sex, it's about power. And it's like, it's about both.
Yep.
Like, and it's about ruining it for a person, like, yeah.
Hmm.
So, and she
Consent.
does say that she has seen like one of the people out and about. And they're like, he's doing fine, no thanks to you. And she's just like, yeah, he just ruined my life because he could and he was bored. When this is a part of the book that I remember didn't work for me the last time. He's like, what's his name? And she goes, Legion. And I'm like,
I
I'm
guess I
sorry.
didn't clock that as being that weird, but when you say it like that, it is funny.
I remember reading it the first time and being like, is that actually his name?
I
Or
I didn't really clock that as being that weird, but now when you're saying it like Legion, now I think
Legion.
it's weird.
It's just so funny to me that like, because I was always like, is that is that an Irish name? Is that just not a real name? Is she just being dramatic? Like,
Maybe it's an
yeah,
Irish thing.
I don't know. Maybe his name is Legion.
Irish listeners, sound off.
Sound off. Um,
Do you
so,
name
you
your
know,
children Legion?
the next day they bring Jonathan Devlin in for questioning. They set up the scene to look incredibly morbid with pictures of his dead daughter. And even
Hmm.
Ryan points out, like, if this man is innocent, this is awful what we're doing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really too far,
it is
honestly.
too far. But before they do this, they do bring in a man who they believe was harassing Jonathan, and the man's name is Anthony. There are
Hmm.
some jokes about him being cross-eyed, which that's not his fault. But he does have a lawyer who says he has an alibi for playing cards the night of Katie's murder. He does clam up when they ask him about the phone calls. They also know that he's not making that much money and he's really poor right now, but he's trying to kind of like push everything into the motorway because it could mean a lot of money for him. They also think he was drinking beforehand. Then they talk to Jonathan. He says he doesn't know anything about the murders. They go at him hard with all the
Hmm.
evidence, and he is still like, no, this, like, they're like the 1980s murders. They knew you raped this
Hmm.
girl. He screams about it.
I was gonna say he gets very upset.
Yes. Well, I mean, he's like, I just want to find out who did this to my daughter, and you guys are bringing this
Hmm.
stuff up. They talk about how he and his friends probably did it, and like one of them went to the movies, which is how Adam got away. Um, and Cassie during the interview is like, "Look, you ruined these two children's life, and probably Adam's." And like Ryan has a moment where
Well,
he's
they
like,
kind of like mentioned like, oh, did one of you go so you had an alibi, or did all of you go? Like you ruined, yeah, like you said, you ruined these people's lives.
"Yes." And Ryan has a moment where he's like, "Maybe he did ruin my life," and it's like, well, someone did ruin your life, in
Well,
fact, but
because
like not this
the
man.
way they like
So
Cassie mentioned it, she's like, and Adam has to live a life of secrecy and no one ever knows where he is and his poor parents are had to move away and it's like yeah he has to lead a life of secrecy working on cases that he shouldn't be working on.
right, he's doing something unethical. So he kind of he has a moment where he's breaking where Jonathan like is about to leave and Ryan is like, "You'll sit down," and he goes to lunge at him, which he says is usually a tactic they use, but this time
Hmm.
he does not stop. And Cassie ends up like trying to pull him away and she hits herself in the face, and that's really all that he calls
Yeah.
himself off is he sees that Cassie got hit. And he blames himself. So then he gets really drunk. He wakes up that night and he remembers the two detectives who helped investigate his friend's disappearance.
Hmm.
And he remembers that one of them at some point says, like, you have to start back at the beginning. And so he is inspired and he's a changed man. And he goes and he buys
He goes to
Cassie inappropriately expensive items.
yeah.
And she does immediately forgive him, as women are
Hmm.
wont to do. And she's just like, dude, I'm worried about you. Like, this is not okay. But the good news is they have an uptick in this where Jonathan did ID Andrew, so he could have hired someone to do
Hmm.
this for him. They think that they're actually on a roll. They have a celebratory dinner after Sam leaves. Cassie and Ryan dance and they laugh, and they're definitely not in love and about to have sex. So,
Oh, they
uh,
ruin it.
I know, literally in the next chapter, because
Yes.
Ryan's like, I'm gonna go spend the night in the woods at Nocturne. That can't be
That's
a
what I
bad
thought you were getting
idea.
at where you were like he's inspired, he's gonna go sleep in the woods, and I was like but why?
That's after the swing dancing. He goes and he sits there for a long time. He starts to hear weird noises, Laura's favorite, the Irish mystery.
It's the will
Um,
of the wisps. Ah.
yeah, that's I kept being like, it's the will of the wisps. That's what we're all thinking right
Mhm.
now. But he has a memory of the day of the disappearance. They had discovered that day that Jamie was being sent away. They had a secret
Mhm.
hideout that like looked like it was like in the dilapidated area of the old castle, but like they had to climb up into a tree to get there. Which I immediately, when I first read this book, was like, that's where their bodies are. And I'm like, like much, much older. And I'm like, I feel like they probably checked there.
Probably, yeah.
Um, but they go to the hideaway where they're all like fighting, and then they decide to run away together. And then they hear something, and Ryan felt like Will o' the Wisp was on his neck pretty much.
Hmm.
He's like, it's just rain, it's rain. And he has
It's
this
just fantastical things.
he feels like he's close to remembering what happens, and then he freaks out. He calls Cassie, and she
Hmm.
comes and she gets him. She takes him back to her apartment, and they have a moment where he's like, "That was my one chance to get my memories back, and now it will never happen." And then they have sex, and then they wake up 2 hours later, and they have sex a lot. Like, it seems like there's way too much sex for two people who are about to think that this is a big mistake. Like,
It's one of those things where I know that like the author is kind of leaning hard into the When Harry Met Sally of it all, where it's just like
yeah,
these two people have wanted each other for so long that they just go at it for hours and then they're like, whoops.
yeah, it's rough. Because he immediately shuts down. Like 3
Hmm.
p.m., he's about to leave the apartment. And she's like, "Hey, let's go on a walk. Let's
And
be
he's like, I can't
normal."
marry you.
I know. It's pretty much what happens where she's like, "Hey, do you want to like be normal and like go for our walk and hang out like we always do?" And he's like, "Fuck no,
He's like,
everything's
put that ring
changed."
away.
Yeah. And Cassie, he could also tell that like Cassie's picking up on it 'cause she's not an idiot. Um, and
But he is an idiot.
I know. And he walls himself off from her
Hmm.
immediately. And she's obviously upset about this, but she's also private and, not unhinged in this at this point. And so she's
Right.
like, "I'm frustrated. Can we just do this?" And he's just like, "We can't do anything together anymore. And everything has changed." Um, but through all this stuff with like the issues with Jonathan and the rape and everything, they were able to get the medical records from the girls.
Hmm.
And the other two don't have the same issues that Katie had. So Munchausen's by proxy is probably out.
Right.
Then Rosalind comes from a visit. Rosalind, the fucking nightmare.
I hate Rosalind.
I mean, you really hit the nail on the head, and I had to be like, just later.
Part of it was Taskmaster,
Yeah,
honestly.
I know. It really set us
Just the
up.
recency bias.
I know. Just the recency of the random woman named Rosalind, where Laura was like, "I don't trust her."
You
Uh,
can't trust a Rosalind.
uh, she she and Ryan go out on a walk, and it's the grossest thing imaginable because she's like running through a garden, like, catch me." And that's not what she's doing, but that's what she's doing.
He has this just creepy infatuation with her, though.
Yeah. I mean, we later find out that she knows how to get that out of people, but
Oh, yeah.
I will say, at least in those sections, he's like, "I do take blame for that." Like, I'm not
Okay,
gonna,
it's
I
too
know.
late.
I know it's way too late, but she is obviously flirting with him. She talks about the fact that Cassie doesn't really like her, and like, because Cassie runs into them in the hall and like avoids them both. He
Mhm.
asks if her parents hurt her, and she indicates that Jessica may be in danger. And then she tries to pretty much make a pass at him by like putting her fingers intertwined with his.
Mhm.
And he has a moment where
Well,
he's
they
like,
hold hands for a little bit.
a little bit, yeah, but they're like holding hands is like he's trying to give her like, "Don't worry, I have this." And then she's like,
Well,
"Sexual?" And he's like, "No." And he has a moment where he's
but
like, "Oh, I
kind
could
of.
make this sexual if I wanted to." And then he's like, "Actually, she's a young girl and that's really fucked up and she's a key witness and I can't do this." And he shuts it down.
It's almost like a weird way, a la Harry, Dresden, and Molly, where he's like, I am attracted to this young woman, but I cannot be with her, so I will
Yes.
protect her at all
But it
costs.
also, I think, is supposed to be foreshadowing, like, "Oh, that just
Hmm.
happened. We just heard a story about Cassie shutting someone down." Because
Hmm.
immediately the girl gets upset, says that she thought he cared for her, and she runs off, and he feels like he messed up.
Well, doesn't is this the moment where he had confided to her about his
Yes,
own
you are correct.
childhood
He
trauma?
said, it might have been in this section or it might have been one of the previous back half. I can't
Okay.
remember. But at some point, he did tell her, like, "Two of my friends went missing. I
Mhm.
am like you."
We're the same.
And he notes at this time, he isn't in the right frame of mind. He's remembering really bad moments, all of that stuff.
Hmm.
So they did tap Andrew's phone and he calls a man about the delay in the motorway. Andrew says that the person guaranteed money out of it. And he's like drunk and he's like, "How dare you? You told me this was a sure thing. Now the police are sniffing around." And the guy's like, "Where are you calling me from?" and And Andrews is like, "Well, I'm calling you from bloody mind your business." And the guy's like, "Don't be a fucking idiot." Hangs up on him. And then Sam reacts so poorly that Ryan is like, "Dude, was that your uncle?"
How were you related?
Yeah, and the guy is like, yeah, it was my uncle." And he's like, "I just don't even know what to do." And he goes home for the night. And then Cassie confronts Ryan and is like, dude, you're being really fucking weird about the fact that you and I banged a bunch.
Mhm.
He's like, I can't be in a position of having a relationship. And she's like,
He's like, look, I know you want to marry me and have 10 kids, and I can't do that right now.
I don't want that. When have I ever wanted that? Like, I'm interested in you. So, like, why
Hmm.
would that be the case? Like, she doesn't even say that, but it's like, yeah, if you're interested in that
Right.
man and you're a smart woman, you know what you're getting yourself into.
Hmm.
But he's convinced of it. Um, and he's like, what? And also, this is the part of the novel that always boggles my mind. I know this is only supposed to be 8 weeks, but it feels like we've been doing this for 5 million years. Because
10 years.
he's like, what happened last Saturday? And I'm like, last Saturday?
The other thing too, I was questioning, like, I don't know. I guess maybe I've been lied to by American true crime, where I was just convinced that you don't have a lot of time when you're working these cases to like actually get information, but they are working on this for like weeks, it seems like.
I do think like you are working on it a lot longer than Law and Order has taught us, but it seems like this went on for 6 months when he has told us time and time again, like it feels really long because the writing is long, but it's
Right.
about 8 weeks. We keep talking about like me, Sam, and Cassie having all these dinners, and it was probably like six. And I'm like, okay, I guess, but this just feels weird. Um, and he's like, well, last Saturday was a huge mistake and we can't go back. And he's like, wow, I really ruined her only friendship. And I'm like, she has other friends. She literally was hanging
He's
out with one on
delusional
Saturday night.
when it comes to Cassie.
I know. Um, then on Saturday, Sam shows up at his house at like 10 p.m. at night. He's like, I went and I told the chief of police about this, and he told me to keep my mouth shut. And like, how dare he? And
Oh,
like,
Kelly's just like getting madder and madder.
O'Kelly's just like, dude, we're not fucking over your relationship with your uncle over this. Like,
Hmm.
it's gonna get buried. It doesn't mean anything. And like, it doesn't seem like this guy did it. So why are we bothering?
Right.
Um, and Sam has a moment where he doesn't really know what to do. He's frustrated and upset. He talks about how his uncle helped him buy his last home and now he must sell it. And Ryan's kind of like, why would you do that?
I also thought that, but it was like, oh, whatever.
I mean, it's like very much Sam's energy of like, I have to be the most beleaguered person in the room. My uncle was evil. Like, it is Sam energy of like, oh, gosh, I'm such a stand-up guy. I can't
I
even have a house that
I
my
did a
uncle helped
bad
me
thing, so I must get rid of all my nice things to tell.
So Ryan was correct to be like, dude, that's not your fault. Like, just keep
Mhm.
your house. But apparently, by the end of this, Sam was like, I must sell it to the most beleaguered person in the room. So
Right.
that's what happened. Um, Ryan, the next, like that Monday or something, goes to get his car. He goes over to the site and he starts looking at all of them, being like, this site is coming to an end. And then he has a light bulb moment. He goes and he starts talking to the ego guy about how when they were there on Thursday after the murder, questioning people, he was complaining about a missing trowel to like dig in the dirt.
Hmm.
And he's like, when did that go missing? Did it go missing on Thursday? And the guy's like, I don't know. And then he's like, actually, I think it went missing that Monday. And I just like didn't get around to it because like so much stuff had happened. Like we weren't digging
Hmm.
the next day and then all this shit was going on. He's like, and I had like my name on it. So like I know it's mine. And so Ryan calls everyone in. He's like, search for the missing trowel. This is what's going on. And they do what they should have done at the beginning, which is like look in the finding sheds.
I know. I don't. That was another thing that I questioned too. Where I was like, "Am I a detective?" Because I would have thought look through the property a little more.
I think that they knew it was secure and they had everyone's alibi, so they knew everyone wasn't on site, so they just trusted that. But like, and they
Yeah,
probably
maybe I
like
should
had,
be a cop because I trust no one.
I know, well, and also like they maybe had to have gotten like a warrant and they didn't have enough probable cause. But like, if she was found on the site, then like you should be looking around the site a little bit more.
Right.
Are they bad detectives?
Are they bad at their job?
So then they find the trowel in one of the locked areas and then the murder scene in another locked area. And like the trowel
Hmm.
was obviously what was used to
It was just like
assault
tossed
her.
under a
And
lot of things too, right?
yes,
Like
yeah.
crudely tossed under things.
And they had to like search for a while. They had to get a bunch of people on. But so they realized that all of those places were locked, so it must be
Hmm.
someone on site. And they start
That
doing
had the
more,
keys.
yes. So they start doing more detective work and they realize that it's
Actual
between
detective work, not
I
sitting in
know.
the woods.
looking for the will of the wisps. And so they kind of have it down between Mark or Damien. Mark's the guy who led Ryan around. Damien is the one who found the body. And so they start questioning him and they're like,
Mhm.
"Where were you?" And he's like, "I was with me mom." And they're like, "I don't believe you." And
Like,
he's not
actually,
the
that doesn't work out.
smartest. And so he starts admitting to killing Katie. But his story doesn't quite align. He's just like suddenly with her, like they make plans to meet or she shows up
Hmm.
and then he just kills her. And there's not a lot to it.
Well, then he gets
So,
like hysterical.
yes. And so as they start to question him, they start to bring up the tracksuit person, and both Ryan and Cassie step out because the sisters mentioned the tracksuit. So that's a
Hmm.
commonality. And Cassie immediately is like, "We have to go get Rosalind. She cannot know that we're about to do this. Like she
Yep.
needs to not have any data about this." And Ryan's like, "Why would we go see her? She's traumatized. She's
She's an
Rosalind."
angel.
She's an angel baby. And she's like, "How can you think that? She's an idiot. Or she's
Hmm.
got you pegged." And he's like, "No, this is about the motorway. He was hired." And
Hmm.
they have this huge blow up where she says he can't see straight through Rosalind and she bursts out of the room. He immediately is like, "I'm going to prove her wrong." And he attempts to question Davian alone about wanting to earn money. But Davian obviously doesn't understand because it's not about the
Yep.
money. And he ends up having to like leave for the night. And he goes home and like won't even see the questioning of Rosalind because like his
Yep.
virgin eyes.
Well, he
So
just can't believe that she could have anything to do with it.
and it's like, dude, come on. So Ryan goes home, and that night Cassie tries to call him, but he hangs up on her. His roommate is like, "Hey, did you sleep with her? She didn't deserve that, neither did I." And I was like, "This
Hmm.
woman you've been super mean to, you have had sex with? Like, oh, that's great.
Yep.
Good job, Ryan." And so
No,
he
he
goes in.
he pretty much sucks.
He pretty much sucks. So he goes in the next day, and he's called into O'Kelly's office, and it becomes very apparent because O'Kelly is like, "Adam fucking Ryan." That he is the missing boy, and O'Kelly now knows about it.
Yeah,
He
he's
says,
pissed and he's just like,
like, he's like, "You
what were you
jeopardized the
thinking?
entire case to do this stupid thing. And like, you weren't forthcoming. And now you're a person who withholds material evidence. So every
Hmm.
case you have is now into question." And he's like, "And also,
All
you're
your
a
past cases too.
yes." And he's like, "And also, you're a former murder suspect." And this is the
Hmm.
moment that Ryan's like, "They thought I might have murdered my friends."
That blows my mind because from the prologue, I thought he did it.
I never thought he did it, but I do enjoy that you think he did and I think he did it because I think that that's a good motivation for this book to have that. But he's just like, "What? Little kids are innocent. I'm innocent. Why would they suspect me?" And he realizes like Cassie knew all along too, and she was like
Hmm.
saving him from it. Um, but he leaves the office and immediately he's like, "I can't believe you fucking told him, Cassie." And Cassie's like, "Watch this video," and
She's
he's
like,
like,
how about you
"I."
watch this? And he's like, no, I can't watch it. Rosalind's too beautiful.
And so he watches it and he's shocked by how Rosalind treats Cassie. Because, like,
Hmm.
Cassie's like, she's just like, "I don't want to talk to you and I don't have to talk to you." And during the interview, Rosalind is like, "You know, Detective Ryan is that little boy whose friends went missing. He told me." And
And
Cassie,
Cassie plays it perfectly because she's
she's
like, oh,
so
really? He
good.
he used that one on you?
Did
Did
he
he
also
also
say he had
tell
a
you?
twin, which is something he did,
Hmm.
or
And
like
he
his dad's an
confided
alcoholic?
stuff in her.
Hmm.
Ugh.
And she's like, "Yeah, detectives are allowed to lie." And you can see like Rosalind gets incredibly angry at
Like the
this. That
light just
like,
leaves her eyes. Like, no.
but like O'Kelly, who doesn't realize that like Cassie's doing a pretty good job, immediately shuts
Mhm.
down the entire interrogation. And it's like, "You have to send her home. This is ridiculous. Is it true?" And she's like, "No, it's not true. This is," or like, "I don't think
Well,
like."
well, because the other thing is that Rosalind mentions the two of them sleeping
Oh,
together,
yes, I
and
forgot about
that's
that.
when O'Kelly gets upset with the line of questioning
Oh,
and
okay.
is and pulls her out and is like, did this actually happen? Is he actually this person or whatever? And so she does have to tell him like, oh yeah, he actually is Adam Ryan, but I don't think she.
She doesn't tell him because she's not supposed
Oh,
to
okay,
know. Like she refuses to give him that inch, and he's like, "Fine, but I think he is, and I think you know he is, and I'm going to
got it.
pull his fingerprints to prove it." So O'Kelly actually just goes and proves it himself because she can't know or else her ass is
Got it.
grass. Um and so Cassie is like, I tried to warn you about this. She's
Hmm.
insane. You can't just do this. And
Well, she's literally a psychopath. We
yeah,
mentioned
and
psychopaths earlier. She is a psychopath.
she says, like, look, I can read them. I know what's going on. And so they all go to O'Kelly and they tell him about this. And he's like, psychopaths aren't real, pretty much. And Cassie is like, I mean this in the literal sense, not the television sense. Like, she has no, like, no feelings. She does not see anything. She sees things as useful or unuseful. And that's why she lies so much.
Mhm.
So, like, she definitely did this. So they do go back and start questioning Damien about, like, she and Sam go in, which like Ryan's just like, I can't believe they get to be friends now.
The way that he's instantly jealous over Sam,
I
and I'm like, they've
know.
had a relationship together. They've been friends for weeks. You've
I
all been
know.
friends. Like, calm down.
But they start talking to Damien and they finally get him to admit that he
He
was
breaks down.
well, because he's like, I don't know, Rosalind. And they're like, we have text messages between the two of you.
Why
And
were
also
you
I'm like,
calling her for hours then
and
if
I'm
you
also
don't
like,
know her?
Rosalind, why did you deny that? That's such a stupid lie to get caught up in.
I know. Like, they won't check phone records.
I know, but like you could have had a fake phone, you idiot. But anyway,
Hmm.
I digress. So they're like, you were calling her for hours. She's obviously your girlfriend. And he finally breaks down and he's like, yes, but you don't understand.
You
Katie
don't know what
was
he was, her dad was doing all this stuff to
so
her.
we find out that Rosalind convinced him that the dad was assaulting all three girls, but Katie
Hmm.
liked it and got him to assault the other two girls more often. And he was
Hmm.
abusive. He fractured her skull, Rosalind's skull. He broke Jessica's arm. And like Ryan's like, I could see he could believe it. I could almost believe it if I hadn't seen the medical records. And like
But
brings up
it's
the
weird
fact,
to think that like Katie was the mastermind behind
I
all of it
know,
because that's like the part of it that I was like, really? How can you believe this word? You've got
right?
Damien who's yelling, she's sick, she's messed up, she liked it, and she convinced them to do all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know that I could believe that.
I mean, he's not the smartest bulb in the shed, that Damien. And like he talks about the fact that she was this evil person. He had to do it. He had no choice. And like Rosalind didn't even bring it up to him. Like, but he couldn't rape the girl because it was just too much. So he used the
Well,
trowel.
so there's more details to it too, because he mentions to them that he and Rosalind couldn't be sexual together because
Yes.
Rosalind had a hard time with it due
Yes.
to all of her other trauma. And so she was never able to be
Until
with him.
right before the murder,
Hmm.
when they were able to be intimate, and then she said the only reason he said he would kill Katie was because he wanted it in her pants. And she's like, I guess you
Hmm.
just never loved me. So he felt very pressured to do it and that he had to protect her and do it in order to protect her and Jessica. And he really thought they were going to run away and be together forever.
Well, and then she wanted him to assault Katie, and he couldn't do that.
Yes. So,
That's why he used a trowel then.
yes, exactly. So they kind of come out and they're like, wow, this is really messed up.
Hmm.
Um, but there's not a ton they can do because Rosalind will never come forward. And then
Hmm.
Cassie says she thinks that she could get Rosalind to admit it all by utilizing the fact that she thinks that her and Ryan slept together and like use it to kind of blackmail to make
Hmm.
Cassie useful
Jealous.
to Rosalind. And so they put a like transmitter on Cassie. And Cassie's really smart about this because she's like, I can't have any weapons on me. There can be no weapons on my motor
Hmm.
vehicle. This girl will lie about it. She will use everything to her advantage. And so the next day, Ryan's like, I talked myself onto the van because O'Kelly got sick of listening to me ask. And right before, there's a beautiful moment where Cassie recites a poem that he's like, maybe I'm in love with her, but I'll only tell her after she's engaged to another man.
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
and so
And wait, and just call her.
I know, just call her at 3 in the morning drunk,
Call.
as every woman wants to hear a man is in
Yeah,
love with her.
that's how you really know it's true.
Drunk action or drunk thoughts or sober actions or whatever it's called. Um,
Too little, too
so
late.
So Cassie goes and she starts talking to Rosalind, and she's like, "So you think that Ryan and I were sleeping together? Like, how did you
What
know
makes
that?"
you
And
think
Rosalind's
that?
like, "He told me." And this is
We're
where
really
Ryan's like,
close, you know.
and Ryan's just like, she must be a psychopath. She just lied about this. And I'm like, or she's a jealous, apparently 17-year-old girl because
Right.
you're bad at math. Like,
Yeah, because that's the other thing that he told them all is she was 18.
I know.
Oh,
But also, people should double check facts. Like, you should, as
yes.
someone who works in a field where dates and times are very
Figure
important, like,
out how
you do
old
have
she
to double
is.
check people's stuff. Um, So Rosalind is like, we're very close, but like I'm mad at you both because you were mean to me. And then he lied to me about being Adam Ryan, which also he never said he was Adam Ryan. Like
No.
that's not actually a lie. Um, and so Cassie's like, look, do me a favor. I'll I started talking to Damien and he admitted that he does know you. And this is where Rosalind's like, I don't know who that is. How could he be my boyfriend if I don't know who that is? And Cassie's like, you guys call each other all the time. Don't lie about the
Have the phone
easiest, stupidest
records. Like,
thing.
we figured it out.
Well,
Like,
and so Cassie's like, look, we
you
don't
do
need
me
a
a solid, I'll
motive.
do you a solid.
He already admitted to doing it, so we don't need a motive. So, like, if you just do me a solid, I'll do you a solid, like you said. And Rosalind is like, we made a lot of fun of you. I don't know if I want to help you, and maybe I won't help you. And Cassie's like, look, the less I know, the better, but I'm going to be helping you out, so you help me out. Don't tell me how you murdered Kate. Like that's pretty
Hmm.
much. She's just being like, I can't hear you, la 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 la. And Rosalind's like, you can't hear me, you say. Well, now you have to listen to everything. And Cassie's like, if you say another word, I'm going to tell you your rights. And she's like, well, I'm going to keep talking. And so Cassie reads her rights because they all think she's 18 and they think it's okay.
Hmm.
And she admits to everything. She's like,
Yep.
I
Well, she's
poisoned
proud of
her.
it.
Yes, because the girl had the nerve to be good at ballet. Like,
Essentially, the whole thing is her being jealous of her.
it's just like a warped view of the world. And that's like what psychopathy is. It's like people
Hmm.
wrong you by existing because you are narcissistic. Where she's like, she was good at ballet. I never wanted to learn, but she was up on herself because she was better than me. And
Hmm.
I told her she shouldn't be dancing. And she told me she was going to dance. So she had to be punished.
Well, it sounds like
And
for a long time she was like when she was younger, when
she
Katie
was
was younger,
poisoning
this is
her.
she was poisoning her and just giving it to her in juice and everything. And Katie would just accept it because Rosalind was the older sister. And then she started to figure out that Rosalind's treatment of her was not
Hmm.
right and started to like tell her no and
Go
question
against
her.
her. Yeah.
And that's when Rosalind started to get real mad.
And Rosalind was like, Damien was such a fucking screw up. I told him to rape her and he couldn't even do that. It's like, yeah, that's a normal reaction
Right.
to that request,
Most
actually.
people should not be able to do that.
And so once she gets everything, Cassie arrests her and Rosalind literally like scratches her face and they all
Hmm.
run up to her. And Ryan's like, she's like a Celtic goddess with her dark eyes and her and her need to be very far away from me. And Sam is the one who ultimately comforts
Hmm.
Cassie. And so they take Rosalind in, and she says, I'd like to speak to my parents now. They need to get me an attorney. And Sam's like, well, if you want an attorney, we'll get you one, but you don't need to speak to your parents yet. And she's like, actually, I do because I'm 17. And they realize in Ireland, you need an adult. And so everything that Ryan has ever heard from Rosalind is now inadmissible because he
It
didn't
is gone.
realize she had about 3 weeks until she turned 18.
Hmm.
Because he did the year math, he didn't do the month math.
Yep.
um, and
What
there
an
is a
idiot.
moment where Sam finally loses his temper and he's like, you didn't check her birthday? And he's like, I did. And he's like, but I also did it in a hurry and I was not careful enough.
Hmm.
And so their entire case against her crumbles
It's
instantly
gone.
because they can't do anything about it. They can't use the tracksuit. They
Hmm.
can't, it's bad. So they do call the parents. You find out that the mom, Margaret, is totally on Rosalind's side and is like,
She's going to protect her at all costs.
you've been calling her all hours of the night, Detective Ryan. Cassie, you always hated her. Like, it's just fully everyone else's
Hmm.
fault. And you can kind of tell that Jonathan knows what's up. He's just
Yeah.
silent and watching it all take place. And then we have a
It's
moment.
definitely like a mama bear situation that goes into effect for Mrs. Devlin. And then
Yes.
Mr. Devlin is just really like not saying anything. And yeah.
Yeah. And so this is such a funny transition where he's like, I'm intensely aware, by the way, that this story does not show me in a particularly good white light. And it's
Oh,
like, yeah.
obviously.
But he's pretty much off all of the case. He cannot
Hmm.
testify. Cassie does her best to help with Damien's trial, but like Rosalind goes on the stage and it's like, I loved my sister, and he said he'd murder her if we broke up, and then she faints. So great.
Hmm. She's
Um,
absolutely awful. And poor Damien has to get the worst of everything.
And so, and like later on, you find out she's getting all this attention because of the media wants to buy the rights to her
Yep.
story, and it's just a whole thing. But Ryan and Jonathan have a heart to heart where Jonathan admits that he did know something was wrong with her and wanted her to get help, but the mother would never allow it.
Hmm.
Um, and he's kind of like, I wonder what would have happened. Like I had once suggested that she get an abortion, and she didn't want one, and I kind of wonder what would happen if that had happened.
Hmm.
But he does admit to like he loves his wife.
He
It's
admits to
just
loving his children
yeah,
too. And
exactly. And
and then
so
he says he's going to send the younger daughter to live with
away,
the aunt.
yeah. Um, and he does ask like, "Hey, were you that kid? Was she right about that?" And he's like, "Yeah, she was right about that." And he's like, "Well, I wasn't a part of whatever happened to your friends, and I'm so sorry." So they
Hmm.
do have like a moment, and he says like he's sending Rosalind to counseling
Hmm.
as the judge told them to. And she's like, she has like a very specific type of release for her because of the attack on Cassie, pretty much, and the
Hmm.
conspiracy for murder after the fact. Damien is guilty, but because it's a sex crime, he does get put away in like a safer
Yep.
area, and he's like very relieved for that. Um, and so then we kind of just
I shouldn't have
the
said poor Damien earlier because he did a terrible thing, but it just makes me feel bad for him because he was so easily manipulated by
he also
this
doesn't I also
psychopath.
kind of feel like he was coded as being having a learning disability. Like that's always
I
the sense
also
I
felt
got
that way
from that
too.
reading. Um just from and that's not an excuse, and obviously
No,
like
it doesn't
there's a
make
lot to be
that's what
said
I'm saying.
about.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know that I should have said poor Damien earlier because I was
No,
just
I know.
thinking
It's
that,
a
but then I was just
complicated
like,
thing.
oh, it makes me feel ick that all this happened to him.
And then it's like the case is over. We're gonna have a rendition of what happens to everyone. And it's like I was sent over to a different division, and like Quigley tried to figure out what was wrong with me. Cassie left homicide, and everyone thought she burned out, but really she goes over like, and she's a detective sergeant in domestic
Hmm.
violence. Um, and like O'Kelly kind of keeps them all under wraps. And the the motorway goes up. Sam sells his expensive house, and
Ham sells his house.
there's some like tabloids about like what went on with the motorway, but nothing serious.
Hmm.
Sophie, the crime scene investigator, goes out with Ryan twice, and she's like, "Hey, I know the difference between intriguing and fucked up, so like this is not gonna work. Date younger women." Um, and then he does have like one memory of him, Peter, uh and Jamie talking about like her going to boarding school and her dancing, saying like I'm
Hmm.
never gonna leave, and it's just like this bittersweet moment of their childhood. Um, and then he talks about how, and then later on, Simone Cameron, the ballet person,
The one that
finds
was serious.
Sérieux, French sérieux. Two of the funniest lines in this book was she was very serious, serious, and Legion.
Single words.
Single words. But she actually found Katie's old diary, and it does show some hints of what Rosalind was doing, talking about like refusing to drink something, Rosalind getting upset, and then 3 nights before she died, like Rosalind, quote unquote, making it up to her by getting her a gift. Um,
Hmm.
because that's how Damien got her out by saying like, "Oh, he has this locket with a dancer in it that he found for you. You have to go meet him at night." Um, and she kind of asked, like, would this have made a difference? And Ryan's kind of like, no. And she's like, but what if we had found it before she had died? And there's not much to say there.
Right.
Then we find out that Cassie and Sam are engaged
They got
because
engaged.
Cassie can only date men who she's met at the workplace.
Workplace, yeah. She only likes people she works with.
And he calls her at 3 in the morning. He's like, Cassie, I love you. And she's like, you know what? I'm gonna leave this phone off the hook and you're gonna have to hear me making out with my fiance.
My thing is like, why do people always do that where they wait until it's such an inopportune time? That's a very realistic thing, but it's
I think
just
it's
like,
because people know at the end of the day that like then they can't blame it on themselves for saying they
oh,
never
for
said
sure,
it.
yeah.
Like, but it's the too
They're
late
like,
of it
well,
all.
I admitted
And
it and she rejected me still. And it's like,
also,
you could have made your move when she was not with
not
Sam.
not to give him the benefit of the doubt, because like if you read this as he's the murderer worst in the world, but if he's
Hmm.
not, he is someone who suffered a lot of trauma, and it's
Oh, for
like he
sure.
has not gotten the help he needs to be emotionally available to anyone. And I'm like, you
Hmm.
need so much therapy before you find your Cassie, my guy. But then he goes down to Knocknery when they're tearing it down. He talks to a guy who gives him like this arrowhead, and he's like, do you
Yeah,
want to
like a
keep
little
it?
amulet thing.
And he's like, no, give it to your grandson. And he kind of just has a moment where he sees children playing, and he just kind of thinks about everything, and
Hmm.
there's no resolution. And that's the end of In the Woods.
I really wish there was a resolution to his story. I was so hoping for that, even in like some kind of epilogue, and there's nothing.
I remember reading that and I was like, I adore this. And I remember my cousin reading it and thinking, I hate this. Like she and I had very different reactions where I was like, I
I didn't
really
hate it. I
liked.
enjoyed the book a lot overall. I thought it was a really great book, but it was just one of those like, no.
It makes sense though. Like it does. Like I remember when I was reading it, I knew that there had to be a resolution. Like back when I was reading it, I was like, "There's no way that it's not resolved." And then at the end, I think I was like so shocked that I was like, "Yeah, I love this. Like it's so beautiful
I
to
think
have
really
a you
she
don't
just wants
know."
the reader to decide. Like
Yeah,
you and I saying, like you were saying, like, oh yeah, I don't think he was the murderer, and me being like, he was the murderer.
and
So
we're both very
we've
sure.
we've made our
Like
decisions.
yeah. And I do think that that's beautiful. And this book does make or break people. Like people online get
Mhm.
so angry about this book and its
The specific
ending.
one in the series?
Yeah, like they get really mad at
Interesting.
the ending of this book. Some people will never continue on with the series because they got so mad that there
Really?
was no resolution. So I do think it's an
I think it was a
important
unique way to
book,
do it, especially for your first novel.
right? And especially for the storyline of like this
Right.
is a character who we're deeply invested in knowing what happened to him. And from the beginning, he's like, I don't know what happened to me. I'm left with this big hole. And like, I never need to figure out what happened to me. And then you're frustrated at the end because you're like, but I needed to know what happened to you.
Well, and I think the thing is too, as we go along, not only do we start to like him less, but
Hate.
he yeah, it just like the more we go along, we are liking him less and really kind of wanting some kind of resolution because we are liking him less.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, but I do love it so much, and it's been so fun rereading this
Hmm.
book for me. So I'm glad you liked it.
Great book.
Well, and I can't wait to talk next week because I think there's a lot to be said about even like the crime genre overall of like
Hmm.
having psychopathy, having someone who is coded as learning disabled. Like there's so many
Hmm.
someone with a learning disability, sorry. Um I think there's so much to delve into outside of just the characters, of just like the themes of mystery novels, because I think that they are
Sure.
rife with conversation. So please join us next week as we
Yeah.
discuss the themes and characters of In the Woods. And please, remember to follow us on Blue Sky,
Mhm.
TikTok, Instagram at
YouTube.
OWWR Pod, or YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube, watch our shorts, give us that thumbs up over there if you would be so willing, because we are getting a little bit more traction over there. And just follow along with us, talk to us on Discord. We're everywhere, guys. We have
Yeah, Hannah wants to talk about video games on Discord.
owwrpod.com. And if you'd be so kind, you can rate, review, and subscribe. Rating, reviewing, and subscribing is a great way to get more people into this conversation, especially early on in season 8. And just as a reference, you can always donate to the podcast. We have a donation through Buzzsprout that you can find on our link tree. So if you ever want to do that, that would be amazing.
And thanks for listening today.
And join us next week as we do a deep dive into the characters and themes. Bye.
Bye.